Welcome to NEK Vt Rocks. My guests today are Ross Murray and Jim Cross from the Borderline Players. Tell us about the Borderline Players. Who are you? What are you?
Well, we are a non-profit theater troupe. We're based out of the Haskell Opera House in Derby Line and Stansted. And we're registered in Quebec and we're registered in Vermont. So we're a real cross-border theater troupe. And this is our first season. The idea behind it was there's NEK was performing, putting on productions for 25 years in the Haskell. And Lynn Limer, who owned the company, retired at the end of last season. So we wanted to keep it going. There were actors and we know for sure audience members who were happy to see theater continue on the border. So a group of us came together and put out feelers and said, who wants to keep theater alive at the Haskell? And there was a lot of support. So Chris Planetta, who has been in a few productions, really spearheaded this and got the ball rolling, got us all registered, got the paperwork taken care of, and without missing a season, we're back.
So you got all that paperwork, and I know how long that process is. You got that done in how many months?
It only took maybe three months to get it all done. Chris was
I am
great.
So impressed.
Yeah, it was really impressive. And,
that's incredible.
And
that's
really,
and
he
worked hard on that
duplicate
too.
We had to duplicate it because we
two
really wanted to be
in
both countries so that we could take advantage of grants in both countries if they were available and so on.
So how many of you are there who are involved?
Well,
I don't really know.
It fluctuates, but I mean, there's a core, there's a board, so there's about 5 of us on the board, 5 or 6 of us on the board of directors. But after that, it's
whoever you pull in.
Whoever we pull in. We have actors like Jim, who've been in a lot of productions in the past, and we have new people who are just new to theater. So it really ranges from show to show, but we know we have this this base that we can go back to. And
I went to Little Shop of Horrors, which was your last production. I loved it.
Yeah, it was good.
It was so much fun. Were you in it?
No.
Neither of you?
No, I was helping with publicity for that one, but it was a great show for sure.
And the next one coming up is The Mousetrap, which of course I know, and I'm assuming.
Of course you should.
I would hope so. I'm assuming a lot of other people know as well and love, because it's one of those quote standards. It's a cult play, at least it is where I come from, but it may be new to a lot of people here. Who's in that? You. Are you in it?
No, I'm not in this one either.
Okay. And you have more productions coming up. How do you come up with the ideas for what's going to be next?
Well, NEK, we go back to them again, they had a model that worked. And so we're more or less following that model where we have a comedy in the spring, try to do a musical in the summer, and then in the fall can be a bit of a toss-up.
Anything.
Yeah. We have mysteries are always fun, more comedies. We really want to get people in the seats, and so we want to present theater that people are going to attend. And
which might I add that we did have full houses for
Little Shop of Horrors. It was fabulous. It was packed.
Yes.
And up here, I know that's a challenge.
It was refreshing to see that. Too.
Yeah.
It was a tremendous.
People missed it.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of enthusiasm for theatre, particularly when locals are involved. And we have a lot of talent locally.
Yes.
Yeah, we were thrilled to have that many people show up for Little Shop because it's a great show. It's a lot of fun.
Yes.
And we had this giant puppet on the stage. I think people came just to see the puppet.
What was hilarious for those of us in the audience was watching the kids, the young people in the audience, hysterical when people were being shoved into the puppet's mouth. They were loving it.
Where are they going?
No, they knew where they were going. They were enjoying seeing people they knew being eaten.
Yeah, it had some darkness.
It did a little bit, yeah.
And our spring show was called Fuddy Mears, and that was a dark comedy as well.
It was.
Unfortunately, I was away for that, so.
But so it's good to. I mean, like I said, we put on shows that people like, but we want to do things that are maybe a little different, or maybe push the envelope a little bit. But not with Mousetrap. Mousetrap is
Mousetrap is Mousetrap.
Yeah. One of the things that QNEK did was sort of pull children and other people in so that they could be in performance and learn things along the way. Are you going to be doing that as well?
Well, I think we have a few younger people that are going to get hooked.
Yeah. So you're actively recruiting membership, however you define it.
Well, we hold auditions for each show, and we'll be holding auditions for next season in January. We're going to do auditions for the full season all at once this time, and there will be opportunities for young people to be in particular the summer musical. It's
the one I can't know about yet.
Because we can't announce the summer musical.
Exactly.
Because we haven't got the license for it yet, but we're very close to getting the license, and we're very excited about what it's going to be. People are going to be they're thrilled to see this one. And so there's opportunities for young people there.
Good.
Yeah, it's great to have young people involved, and because they're going to be the future for the theater. And also, from a completely practical point of view, when you have young people on stage, their parents come, their grandparents come, their friends come.
Absolutely.
So, there's a whole
and more
pragmatic
people
reason.
learn to love theatre in all of its glory, both musical. You don't often do much with dance.
That's a whole other skill set.
But I know there's dancers up here with skill sets.
Yeah. There's some dance, but I think everyone can sing, everyone can act. Dancing is a whole other.
Any one of us can lumber around.
Not everyone can dance.
Sure they can.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Not in
dance well.
Sometimes not in a particular way.
True. We can all dance.
Not something you want to pay to
sing.
see.
Yes.
Yeah, we may not all sing well either.
No, that's true. That's true.
Jim has done musicals. I've done some music.
I've worn many hats. Many hats.
Yeah.
The worst one for makeup was Mikado.
Oh, were you one of the three little girls?
No, I was Mikado. Took me 2 hours to get into makeup.
Wow. If you have your choice of what kind of events you're producing, what are your favorites?
I don't know. I like them all. I do. I really do. I like the comedies really well.
There's what I've discovered in the short time that I've been involved is that there's levels of complexity. So the musicals are a lot of fun to put on and a lot of fun to see, but there's so many different elements that have to come together for that. So there's a lot more work off stage in particular to put on a musical.
Yeah, there's a lot of levels to it.
But the rewards, so it's like anything, input equals reward. So you put a lot of work into the musicals, but the rewards are great. The comedies tend to be simpler, maybe even a smaller cast. So the payoff is great as well. But in terms of producing them, the comedies are easier to produce, but people really like the musicals. Yeah. So we like to mix it up. Yeah. Next season, we're going to try an original production in the spring.
Fuddy Mears was an original, wasn't it?
It was the first time we've performed it, but it's written by an American playwright.
Right.
This will be. I've written a play that's going to be we're going to produce in the spring, and it's actually set in the Haskell Library, so it's going to be very meta.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Nice.
Oh.
Yeah. And the idea behind it is, I don't know if you've ever heard the story of the legend that the Beatles almost came to the Haskell.
Yes.
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 Well, the idea of this play is, how did that almost happen, and more specifically, why didn't it happen?
I was going to say, why didn't it
Why
happen?
didn't it happen? So it brings in some...
Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Yeah, it brings in some...
If only they'd known.
If only they had known. Yeah.
brings in some
Ringlewood had
living
less hair.
characters and some fictional characters and
Mhm.
all kinds of different things. And it brings in some local history. Mac's Party, you ever hear of that? 1973.
Oh,
so it's
yes.
set around
Yes.
the time of Mac's Party as well. So that's our spring production.
That actually is a really sort of intriguing idea, because
Mhm.
it'll bring a lot of different pieces together. And I
Yeah.
have heard that story, of course, because people assume because I have an accent, I must be fascinated by anything Beatles.
Of course.
Okay.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. So I've heard that story more than once.
Yeah.
How do you get the word out? Because publicity up here is challenging. I mean, technically we live in the middle of nowhere. It's really hard to get to hear from there. How do you build an audience? And I know it built itself for Little Shop of Horrors.
Mm-hmm.
How do we spread beyond that?
Well, we do have to do publicity.
Mhm.
We have great support from local media
Yeah.
who run press releases, give us breaks on advertising. Word of mouth is huge. Social media.
Mhm.
For Little Shop, we had Sonia Patnode, who was the voice of Audrey 2,
She
voice
was
of the puppet.
great.
Mm.
She did a ton of publicity in Canada
Right.
for
We'd
us.
never recognize her on the street, unfortunately, but boy, did her voice sound good.
Mm-hmm.
And people are very generous about wanting to support
Yes.
this.
Yeah, they are. They have been. They have been right along.
So one of the reasons we wanted to get this season underway this year, as
Mhm.
opposed to waiting a year and having
Yeah.
all the pieces in place and say, okay, now we can go, was that we had momentum. QNEK had built up a great reputation and
Right.
audience over the years, and people were getting used to coming to the Haskell. So
Mhm.
you have momentum. You want to keep that momentum going. And so we started that momentum up in the spring. We built it with Little Shop, so we're hoping it continues with Mousetrap in the fall.
Mhm. You could certainly attract a wider audience, probably with Mousetrap, because I'll bet a lot of people have seen it at different times over the decades, because it's a pretty old play.
It is.
Yeah. You've
Yeah.
been in it twice, right?
Yeah, this is the second time.
Yeah,
and,
well,
and Major Metcalf both times.
yeah. We were joking around before, and I said, "Oh, well, muscle memory. He probably still knows all the words."
Oh, right. 25 years ago? I don't think so.
You've been in a lot of shows, Jim.
I have been in a lot of shows.
Yeah.
Yes.
And for both of
One
you,
year I was in every show,
wow.
and it was like, ooh, that's a lot.
That's exhausting. That's exhausting.
And did you have a day job at that time?
I did.
Wow.
I was postmaster in Derby Line. Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
That's an opportunity, I guess, to practice through the grill.
It's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is an enormous time commitment for both of you.
Oh,
And I
absolutely.
presume that everybody involved is a volunteer.
Virtually everyone is, yes. The actors, for sure, all give their time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's intense.
It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
It is. And the behind the scenes are even better than the
Sure.
productions sometimes.
Do
You know-
you recruit people to join you for the behind-the-scenes stuff? Because there's a lot that goes into a production.
Well, yeah, we have tech crews, and
Yeah.
we have, curtain crew.
Yeah. I mean, some of that, I presume, comes from the Haskell, who I know have some production.
Well, generally we have to provide our own. They have a house manager who helps us out, but
Yeah.
we have to provide our own crews. But again, we have resources that we go back to over and over, like Dennis Siegler, who helps with our lighting,
Mhm.
who we won't let retire.
Right, because you can't.
Even though he threatens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we do pull in young people who have an interest in theater and working on crews, and they want to go into theater, and so this is a great opportunity for them to get some experience so they can go on to university or wherever they're going and say, I have experience working in theater. I know how it works backstage.
Right.
And it's been a great stepping stone for the younger people too. A lot of them have gone on to do
Performance.
Yes.
Yeah. And probably theatre in college.
Mhm.
yes. So
Yeah.
that's been helpful.
So do you actively recruit? I'm sort of pushing for, are there ways for people who live in the area to become involved? Because you guys sound like a lot of fun.
It is fun. Yeah, I mean, we go back
It
to
is
like
fun.
each
Yeah.
performance, each
Well, if
show.
it wasn't fun, we wouldn't probably do it.
Well,
No.
right.
You know.
Exactly.
So
I mean, Jim and I had this discussion around Fuddy Mears. Like,
Mhm.
it's, some people go to the gym.
exactly.
I obviously don't.
Nor I.
But it's when you come to rehearsal, hopefully, if everything goes well, you put everything outside the theater goes away for a little while, and you are a different person. You are working with sometimes strangers, and you have to get very intimate with them sometimes.
Yes.
So you develop this very intense relationship over a very short period of time, and then you go on your way again, and then you come
But
back
you
and
get
do
to know
another
them
one.
well that way.
You get to know them very well.
You do.
So it's very rewarding in that way. Yeah. So, yeah, anyone can get involved. There are different ways to get involved, and if anyone's interested in finding more about being in productions or auditioning for productions,
Right.
Or backstage.
backstage, we do have a website. That's probably the easiest way to get in touch with us, and all our contact is on the website, borderlineplayers.org. And on Facebook, people can message
Right.
us through Facebook. If we're actors, obviously you have to audition for a part, but we're always looking for support. We're always looking for financial support.
Aren't we all?
Sponsors. We put together a program at the start of the season that's in for every performance.
Yeah.
So there's a way for people to support us that way. They can buy an ad in the program, even if
Do
they
you
can't be
guys
on-
have to put together the program?
Yes.
Yes.
That's another big commitment.
Sure.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. Because calling everybody up and begging for an ad.
Yes.
And if we didn't think it was worth it, we wouldn't do it. But-
Right. But it's still
But
nice
it's
to get
worth it.
Oh yeah, for
it's
sure.
nice to get a little help along the way.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
And as I say, people are very, very supportive. People.
Pretty generous, actually,
Yeah.
I think.
I think they like the idea of. Live theater is unlike anything else because
Right.
it's like tightrope walking.
Yeah. Theatre's not easily accessible in this country, and that was always a surprise to me because I come from a country where every small town has its own repertory company, and I expected that when I moved to the States umpty years ago.
And there aren't a lot of communities that have such.
Exactly, I was
such a
really
venue.
surprised. So it's so great, that you've got we've got the fabulous venue up here, and that there are groups that keep forming.
Well, we're an interesting region, aren't we?
Yeah,
We certainly are.
We are.
Both sides of the border are somewhat isolated. On the Canadian side, there's theater in English theater in Sherbrooke. There's a small little troupe in Georgeville in
And
Magog.
Knowlton.
There's some in Knowlton, but there's these pockets that are quite
Yeah.
far spread, and the same on this side too.
Mhm.
So it's nice to have that little happening on the border, which sort of brings both sides of these
Yeah.
regions together. There are very few,
Yeah.
think of how few things there are now where people can, from both sides of the border, can come together and actually sort of sit together in a
Commingle.
room. Yes, commingle. Yeah.
It's just so sad when we look at what's happening with the border and
It
the
really is.
opportunities that we're losing, that we're being forced apart in ways that make absolutely no sense. And I know we're not supposed to get into that kind of political discussion, but, you know, I can do anything I want on this show. So I think it's really sad. And so anything that brings us together is, I think, so vital and really to be encouraged.
Yeah.
I mean, it is off-putting when you pull up at the Haskell and you have a border guard on either side. So you wave and sail on in. And I've been involved in events at the Haskell. I know they can sometimes be intrusive. Most of the time they're not. Most of the time they're reasonable. But it's a shame.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a very strange place to have a building, but we're really glad it's there. And so we have to cherish it and we have to nurture it.
Exactly.
And one of the things, we have that unique theater on the second floor of a library, and if you don't use a space, it dies.
Right.
So we want to, that's another, you know, motivation for me to keep theater going there, is that it's such a wonderful theater. And if people haven't seen it, it's
it scared me to
so
death
if you
the first
don't,
time I got on the stage. I was scared to death.
Because the bat buzzed you?
No, I was just amazed at what there was
incredible?
there. It was like, this is incredible.
Yeah.
It's almost scary.
Yeah. And that amazing curtain, which I would be really nervous about pulling up and down each time.
it's pretty hardy.
I would hope so.
It really is.
Yeah, it's been there many years.
So I love the space.
I do too.
Does any of the money that you bring in fund the Haskell in any way, or is it just supporting your own productions?
It goes. I mean, we're only in our first season.
Yeah.
So we're trying to make a little money, or at
You
least
need
not
to.
lose any money.
Right.
But no, we're not mandated to give back to the Haskell, but we'll see. The Haskell's been supportive of us, I have to say, but giving us a break on rental space. They're very helpful in making sure it's working for us, and we work well with.
They certainly need some repairs for some parts of that building, unfortunately.
It's a bit of a tough building to maintain.
It's an ongoing thing, I think.
Yeah, it would be really nice if there was a way to help maintain that building, because I'm sure both sides of the border, some parts would like it to fall down.
Well,
so it's really important that it doesn't.
Every performance we do, we're giving them. I mean, we rent the space from them, so you know we do help in that way, I guess.
Yeah. Who does all your costumes?
That's usually volunteer too.
Yeah, different people.
That's another big investment, and I know that where the costumes that QNEK had before were damaged when there was a flood, so you weren't able to sort of absorb some of those.
No, we absorbed some of the hardware, some pieces of wood and sets and so on. But yeah, we lost a lot of the. Costumes come from different places. I know Lisa Foster helped us with costumes for Fuddy Mears, and for Little Shop, I believe it was Madam
Archetype Panoply. Isn't that fabulous? That is such a fabulous store.
They were very supportive.
The dental chair is sitting right in that store. It's great. We all sit in it when we go in.
Well, and things aren't hard to find now. You just go on eBay and you can find anything you want.
I guess so.
Even giant puppets.
Apparently.
Chris Planeta looked online and found out where puppets were for sale. And so this puppet was shipped in a giant 6x6x6 crate from Winnipeg to the lawn of the Haskell one afternoon, which caused a bit of an international incident with this giant crate showing
What is
up
that thing?
unannounced.
I'm sure that could have terrorized the White House, but
Well, as it turned out, the RCMP and the Border Patrol guys helped get it off the truck. That was I think we brought the communities together.
Did you offer them a trip inside it if they wanted it?
They might have got a free ticket. No.
Hey, why not?
So yeah, you can find things. By
So do you now own that puppet?
We had the choice of renting the puppet or buying it outright. So we thought we would rent it at first, but then we realized, just like we were looking for a puppet, there are other people looking for this puppet as well. So we bought the puppet. We have this fixed asset now of a puppet.
A puppet.
And so we're looking for, if anyone wants to buy a giant plant puppet.
To buy it or rent it.
Well,
you
we
can
want
earn
to
money
once
as an Audrey
we don't want it
rental
back.
agency. Yeah.
So actually, we do have some feelers out to some companies who are putting on Little Shop of Horrors, which is a very popular show.
Yeah.
And we may end up shipping it down to New Brunswick.
So, is
in
another
the crate.
international incident here? Is the puppet stored on the Canadian side or the Vermont side?
It's in Canada right now. It came from Canada, and into Canada it returned.
But it can be removed.
So
And we're
does
conscious of that.
it doesn't have to have a passport to come across.
We're conscious of, because it's such a unique situation, we try to be conscious of what's coming from Canada. It goes back to Canada. What the material that comes from the U.S.
Yeah.
We put it back in the U.S. Because we don't want to cause any incidents where they say, okay, that's it, we're shutting you down.
I mean, I know we have issues on the border with vegetation crossing, but I would have thought a fabric plant would be allowed over.
Yeah.
Because there are as many productions, I would think, over on this side as there are on the Canadian side.
I don't know.
I bet there are.
Yeah.
That would be fun to find out.
Yeah, it would.
That would increase your market. And, why shouldn't she travel?
She can travel, yeah.
She could have a passport, too.
I don't know where she was made originally, but
Probably
she's
China.
still in good shape.
Even after eating all of you?
It's well fed. Yeah.
Yeah, and you could have fun going to schools with Audrey, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and there's different levels of plant size that you can
Yeah.
bring around.
So you have more than one. You have them all?
Yes, they all sort of fit inside each other, like
like
the
a
Russian dolls.
Russian doll.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Well, actually, this has a lot of potential.
Mm-hmm.
You could probably get some very helpful suggestions after this show.
Yeah, Halloween's coming up. So
That's
maybe-
right.
Yeah, that's true.
And how do we
That's true.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Mhm.
Trick or treats.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would be fun sometimes.
Trick or treat, I want to eat.
Yeah. It would be fun to do a Halloween production sometime.
Yes, we did. Arsenic and Old Lace around Halloween
Arsenic
a
and Old
few
Lace.
years ago. That was fun to do.
That was
I
really a
remember.
fun show.
That was a
Yeah,
great
that
show.
is a fun
It
show.
really was
That was-
fun.
Oh, you did that at the Haskell.
Yes, it
Yeah, I
was at the
remember
Haskell.
that. Yeah, I'm a long-term traveller to the Haskell
Yes.
for performances.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't that long ago.
No,
That was about 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
Wow, it was that long ago.
Well, time flies.
Apparently,
Yeah, that was just my second show.
do you both have day jobs?
I do.
I don't. I am retired from the Postal Service.
So now you can be a full-time
So
person
now
for
I'm a
borderline
full-time,
full-time, as
Full-time,
opposed to
yeah.
the full-time
And
you
and I'm
were
busier
before.
than I ever was.
Exactly. I know how that goes. And you still have a day job.
Yes, I work at Stansted College.
So you can recruit from Stansted College too.
We've had a couple of teachers who've been in productions.
Yeah.
We haven't had any students yet, but they're
But
pretty
maybe
busy
you can
out there.
entice them.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, we're working on getting them out to see Mousetrap, a special performance for them. 'Cause we
Oh,
get
so you're
the
gonna
whole
do
school.
an
We're a school of
additional
about 300,
performance.
we're about 250 students, so we can fit the whole school into the Haskell. So we're going to do.
It should be very
an extra
interesting.
That's
performance.
really neat.
Yeah. So Mousetrap. I mean, you can talk a bit about the Mousetrap, but it's a great show for a lot of people to come
Yeah.
see.
It's a great mystery murder.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. Could you recruit from other schools as well, so that younger people really get to experience theatre?
Well, we
on
have
both sides.
We've had kids from North Country
Mhm.
involved.
Oh yes,
In
lots of kids
show.
from North Country.
North Country is very.
Yeah, for a regular performance or a special one.
In terms of audience,
Yeah,
oh, they've just in the regular.
yeah.
in
Because if
regular.
you're doing a
Yeah.
special performance for Stansted, that's something that could be replicated on the other side as well.
Yes.
The other side.
Yeah, North
Isn't this
Country. North
crazy?
Country often, at least once a year, I believe, has the children there
Hmm.
make up plays,
Oh, so they use the Haskell for
and then they
something
use
different.
us,
Mhm.
the actors from
Mm-hmm.
the theater, to portray their
You act
play.
their play.
Yes.
That's really
page
cool.
to stage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Page to stage.
Yeah.
And so it works out really well. I
Yeah.
mean, it's quite interesting,
Yeah.
really.
And Borderline Players is going to continue doing things like that.
I'm not sure.
I don't know. I mean, that's their own.
That's their own
Yeah.
thing.
But they recruit from
That would be really neat if you
the
could.
players. Yeah.
We unfortunately are out of time. It
Okay.
goes really fast.
Doesn't it, though?
Yeah. So thank you both for coming,
you.
and hopefully we'll keep up to date with Borderline Players.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Thanks.